Welcome to the Sheild Within. The issues discussed on the Sheild Within podcast do not reflect the opinions of any specific agency. They are the views of the host and the guest. Any persons discussed may be fictional for comedic purposes only. This podcast is rated explicit and listener discretion is advised. Listening to the Sheild Within may trigger repressed or suppressed memories or experiences. Please contact a mental health professional at your earliest convenience. It's time for the chaos to cease.
Time to open yourself to peace.
From the hours you've put in.
To the next shift you begin.
From the endless pursuit of release.
That finds the worst unleashed.
Transform the ugly into a win.
Get to know your shield within.
Oops, wrong button. Welcome to the Sheild Within.
Welcome, Mark.
Let's do this shit again. There we go. Yes. Yes, we have a studio audience going on. I need to mark those on the soundboard here somehow.
Right. I think it's better when it's random. You kind of never know what you're going to get.
Well, that's the problem. That's right. Is we're not recording. You know, everybody acts like we do this every day. And we don't.
Right.
And, we were just talking. We were in the green room, a.k.a. the back porch. When was the last time we were together? It was like, it's like 2 months ago.
Right.
But what we record, it's epic.
It's right.
So, anyway, speaking of epic, welcome to the Sheild Within again.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do a little business. If you're on Facebook, and we know you are, go to Facebook/Sheild Within. Please give us a like. We're climbing in the numbers, but we want to hit that 1,000 mark this year, so we all want to see your smiling faces. Also, if you need us, because we do need you can go to www.theshieldwithin.com. You can see all of our smiling faces. We're getting ready to do a refurb on that. We're going to do some different stuff. I'm going to reset it, find somebody who knows what the fuck they're doing. Comes to web mastery and do that. And if you're in need, you can either hit our coaching button or go see my esteemed colleague across the table from me here at lessonslearnedcoaching.com. If you got that extra $5 laying around a month and you don't know what to do with it, and why let some crackhead rummage through your car and take it from you, you can give it to us to help support the show. It's just $5 a month at Patreon/Sheild Within.
Excellent.
Wasn't that a mouthful? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're excited to be here. We got Captain Fabulous with us.
Hello, Mark. How are you? I'm feeling fabulous. How about you?
And our esteemed guest. We love him. You remember him from the Sergeant's episode. So I think Chris is with us today. We need to find you a better name.
Okay. I've been called a lot of things, but I'm not sure any of them are really appropriate.
Well, that's true. But we love having you here. So, so we were talking about, let's get together. So I shot Chris a text, and I'm like, hey, man, what are you doing? When? Told him, all right, I can do this. Awesome. It's on. So threw the shout out to the group and said, where's everybody at? Kelly's on vacation this week.
Right.
Sunning her buns in Florida.
Right.
Donnie's up spinning tunes. And where the hell is he at? Some golf joint?
Long shots.
Yeah,
long shots.
Long shots, yeah.
Yeah.
One-hit wonders.
Yes, because it was a long shot. But, wait a minute. Did it hit the right? Bam! Finally figured it out.
All right.
Did you notice we got a little chastised from Brad Goss for using sound effects? Did you pick up on that where he busted my nuts? Oh, that's original or something like that. We love you, Brad, but keep it real, bro.
With a grain of salt,
Exactly.
That episode, I'm not finished with it, but has ended up being way better than I thought it was.
Yeah, me too. Well, go ahead.
It's just, I found it really entertaining. I'm sitting there laughing my ass off, and I don't remember it being this good.
Sounds like me in the bedroom.
I don't know any guy that doesn't think that he's super wonderful. That's right. Because it's always good for you.
Right. Yeah, that's right. I gave her the best minute and a I like that bit that's been going around. I forget what movie it was from. It was Chevy Chase, and they were in California, obviously, because of In-N-Out Burger. So he's talking to this female colleague, and he's like, "Hey, you want to go to In-N-Out Burger for lunch?" And she's like, "No." Well, how about just the In-N-Out? That's pretty witty. People in Ohio wouldn't get that. But
No.
In-N-Out Burger is fantastic if you get out west. The first one I think is in Kingman, Arizona. So that was always my April Fool's Day joke was, "Hey man, In-N-Out Burger's coming to Dayton, Ohio." Everybody's like, "Oh wow, gotcha."
Maybe someday.
Yeah, maybe someday.
I mean, we've got the first 4, so I mean, whatever it is with the end.
Right. That's another useless job you need.
Yeah.
Greg and I got my 10-year pen from UD Arena.
Yeah, you did.
From working at UD, and I think I worked there another year and hung it up.
And they stopped giving it out after that.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Bunch of pricks.
Yeah.
Good thing I quit.
We need you back. We need you
But
back.
that was really tough for me because I've really never. Well, I shouldn't say I haven't been quit a job, but leaving that was such a fun job, but it didn't pay shit. It's like I don't need this. And when I got out of law enforcement, I got out. I quit doing any card work. Everybody's calling me, "Hey man, want a job?" No, I don't. I'm going to go sell real estate. That's it, and do my podcast.
But it was all fellowship, is what it's about.
It was.
Camaraderie, the old retirees, the new. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's like going to a Lodge 44 meeting.
Sit
the
around.
retirees. And bunch of great people that work there, and UD is such a great institution anyway.
It is.
Yeah, and the first 4 was always a big plus. We work our brains out.
Great.
Like nothing. Oh,
I was only there one time.
Hey, they're always hiring.
Let's see.
You gotta be a blue coat.
I think the only time I was ever there for the first 4 was when President Obama and the Prime Minister of England went there.
We were there, weren't we, bro?
Yes.
Yep.
Did you do the escort detail?
Yeah, I was the lead on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was simple motorcade.
The cool stuff. Yeah.
I mean, it was longer on Right Path than it was really getting to UD.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you guys part the Red Sea, man.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. But that's the cool shit.
Yeah, it was.
The job. The stuff like that.
That was stuff that was
That's
fun.
what I missed. That's what I missed.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Doing the memorial stuff, doing the motorcade stuff, doing the pomp and circumstance stuff. That's what I really enjoyed. And I do kind of miss that. But we can still go to DC and do everything we did in uniform without it. So, are we going this year? We talked about it. We'll talk about it off air. Anyway, going to Washington for Police Week.
Never been.
Bro. That's right. We talked about this.
I know.
We'll leave it there.
We'll leave it there. I understand. Take a swig of that coffee and let's move on. Yes.
No, I mean,
yeah.
I just never.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I did my one and done with that, and I've tried to avoid them since then.
We 100% acknowledge that.
It's different.
Yeah,
Experience it, but it's different, and you paid your respects and everything, and it's just like, okay, I'm moving on, and
yep.
So it is. It's tough to handle.
David, what you got for us?
Chris, nice to meet you, sir.
Well, nice to meet you, sir. I've listened to you a lot. I've spent a lot of time in a car since I retired, and so I've gotten to listen to all the back episodes.
Got it. Well, that's kind of where I wanted to start. I enjoyed you very much on the 2 Sergeant episodes. You and Eric and Mark had a lot to offer. It was very entertaining, good stories.
Yeah, it was fun.
And so I wanted to start with the fact that you're retired. True?
Yes.
How long ago did you retire?
April of 24, so almost a year now.
Wow.
April 19th, it'll be a year.
So what are you doing now?
Let's see. Currently, I teach. They kept some of us. I get to teach over at the State Patrol Academy. I've got a contract over there.
Okay.
I teach some at Clark State with their academy. And then my full-time job is I'm a staff representative for the union that represents the troopers and sergeants and the dispatchers.
Oh, wow.
So I try to keep busy.
Yeah. Like, do you teach every day?
No.
No.
With my full-time job, I kind of just have to work that in.
Okay.
I will do, let's see. I was down for a couple of days last week and the week before that, and then it'll kind of go away. Clark State, we did like I've done a couple of, they do instructor courses for people to be instructors, and I've done like a couple of their rifle instructor courses, their patrol rifle stuff, and then I've done some of the firearms. With them, I usually help with their firearm stuff. I teach their the section on like their civil disturbance, whatever you want to call it, riot control. I was on, when I was with the patrol, I was on our riot control team for, we called it Mobile Field Force. I was on it for, I think we started it in 2010 or 2011. So I was on it until I retired. So I got to do quite a bit of that, which was fun. I spent a lot, I think, during that, with that, I mean, I went to several states and then got to see all of Ohio. And literally.
You're all over.
Yeah, the patrols made, basically breaks the state into 9 geographic districts, and I made money in every district, so I felt pretty good about that.
Yeah.
And you got a T-shirt to prove it.
Yeah, I do.
Right.
A couple of them.
Yeah. Been there, done that.
So, and then that's, I've been helping with firearms the patrols academy runs the people that are going to be troopers, the cadet side of it, and then they also run the basic side for outside agencies, and they're bringing a lot of the retirees and that kind of stuff in that have the stuff to help with the basic side of it, just to keep the manpower numbers down. And then they also are bringing in, especially it's kind of nice because they're bringing in instructors from outside agencies too, to help with the basic side of it.
Yeah.
Like ODNR, several of those guys come down for firearms, but they've usually have like 8 or 9 people right now in every one of those classes. So I think that especially, I wish they did that more with the cadets. I don't make those decisions. Obviously, I don't have a dog in that fight. I understand both sides of it.
But you could.
But the thing that I see that's valuable is that they're getting instruction from. There used to be, and it's not so much now, there used to be a lot of lines in the sand when it came to different agencies and who played well together and who didn't. Yes. And if you start erasing those lines in the sand and making them muddy in the academy by exposing people that are new and getting rid of that, because I think that's a weed that needs to be pulled out of the garden.
I 110% agree
it's stupid.
With that, bro.
It's absolutely stupid.
110% agree with that. But the problem is I don't mean to interject. Please continue.
Well, the problem is at the higher levels.
Okay, good. You're making my point.
At the higher levels, it becomes about money and power and status and all that kind of shit. And at the lower levels, I think if you can breed some of that out at the beginning, 20 years from now, it'll be less. We've seen that through our career.
Oh yeah.
From when we started to where we ended, and it started changing when I was young, and it kind of depended on where you were at. I went to Allen County was my first. I went to Lima for my first post assignment, so we were in Allen and Putnam County mainly. We had a great working relationship with Allen County SO and Lima PD. We spent a lot of time together because it's a shithole. Kind of like Montgomery County. And I mean that in kind of a positive way, because it is. Well, I mean, if you've got a lot of crime and drugs and bad things happening and fatal crashes, and because that all goes together, no one agency has enough people to deal with it. You don't see the who's the big dog in the little yard syndrome so much. Because you have to rely on each other. And then the other thing is, you go to a faster post like that, especially as a trooper, you find out real quick, I am never going to get back up from another gray shirt. Like when we were in Putnam County, you were the only trooper up there, and there was maybe 3 or 4 other law enforcement people working in the entire county.
On your own.
Yeah. So who cares?
Yeah.
Who shows up?
Yeah.
You could be,
I'm out here fighting this fucker. And
if you got on a peak uniform and look like a bunny rabbit, but you've got a gun and a badge, I am all in on you being there. So, and then, like I said, Allen County, Lima PD had big problems. Lima's kind of like a Dayton, only it's got a Dayton level of violence, but more same size as Springfield. So they were always had stuff going on. And then the SO, we had a good relationship with them just because my midnight sergeant and their midnight sergeant went to high school together.
oh, that had to be a fun.
It was. There were a lot of times that the Stetson was left in the car. Make sure you have your windbreaker on. They won't know the difference.
It's an away game.
It's an away game.
Yes.
And the only thing is whoever's in uniform is the home team.
Yeah.
And we're going to absolutely dog stomp whoever is not. Because especially on midnights, it was one of the older troopers that was big in our Blue Max and our criminal patrol. Tim Stockman, he was kind of legend in the highway patrol. He's one of my midnight guys that I broke in with. He always had the his big thing was after midnight. He said there's only two things are out, cops and crooks. And if it's not got in a car with a light bar, you kind of narrows it down. So,
He's not wrong.
no,
Go get him.
No.
Other newspaper delivery.
So that's
Right. Yeah.
so that's kind of the nice thing with the way they're doing that.
Right.
Plus, they get to hear it from. I think it's good to hear the same thing from more than one source.
Yes.
A
Exactly.
consistent theme from more than one source.
Yes.
It gives it a lot more validity.
Exactly.
It's
Makes
not
it more
just
credible.
their way of doing it.
Right.
That's our way.
Yeah. Do you find what you're doing since you retired the last year, is it satisfying to you?
I struggle.
You're struggling.
Yeah, a little bit with that. I've always been the rat on the wheel.
Yes.
And then the wheel went away.
Yes.
I prefer hamster.
Whatever. It's still a rat derivative.
Right.
I mean,
You're some type of vermin. They're warm and fuzzy and they drive Kia Souls.
I think it's a little bit. I'm still trying to figure that out a little bit.
Okay.
Like I'm trying to keep myself busy and trying to look at the things. I can't be 25 again.
Right.
Damn it.
You know, so there's the fact that you got to accept the fact that you're like, I'll be 57 in a couple of weeks.
Old bastard.
So yeah, but you know,
I think Greg's the baby at the table on here.
but that's a fact.
Absolutely.
So you have to change your roles and that kind of stuff a little bit, whether you want to or not.
Makes you look at yourself differently, doesn't it?
Well, and good change is painful. So if you don't think that there's I didn't expect it to be. I don't have unrealistic expectations that this is going to be. I did the same thing for 34 years.
Yeah.
And you wore that uniform
For 34 years,
and that's where you got recognized.
And it was part of what you did.
Right.
Like I. And I was very comfortable in that role.
Yes.
You know, and I miss being part of the team, the end club. You know what I mean?
Right, yes.
I miss as much as you hate all the crappy stuff, you miss not being part of it. I miss
Exactly.
I'm an adrenaline junkie. I miss the adrenaline. I mean, that's kind of something that I struggle with a little bit. But like I said, at the end of the day, it'll be fine. I just got to figure it out. Yeah.
Good. Very good.
Yeah.
No, are you sleeping good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Except for like, I've got some arthritis in my wrists, and when they hurt, sometimes that doesn't work out. Or if I do something stupid at the gym and my shoulder decides it's going to not be. But other than that,
That's me today. But
And you got to get up at 3 o'clock every morning to go to the bathroom. Right? Okay, Okay.
I usually go to bed at 9 and I'm up at 4.
Oh, yeah,
so
that's right. Okay, yeah.
But it's still only one time. And my big mistake is I like to drink hot tea before I go to bed, which has got caffeine in it, which doesn't help with that. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes you get up in the night and do something. Yeah.
Yes. But
if you resume sleep okay, it's not a big deal.
That's good.
Yeah. So I haven't had any problems with that. I guess that's been one of those. Now, again, I think that goes back to that understanding yourself and how you're wired.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have to stay very physically active.
Okay.
That's a huge stress relief. That's probably how I got through my career without killing someone. I mean, literally. That's I know how I'm wired.
Right.
So if I get lazy on that, then I start.
Your head.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So and even that was always related to work.
Right. Exactly.
Because I'm a big one especially when you're training and for yourself, that you don't train for yourself, you train for everyone else. Mm-hmm. Your meat on the table at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But you train to make yourself hard to kill so that other people don't have to die.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't think that you can go into like an academy setting and say that and then not still kind of live it. So
Yes. It's a frame of reference.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like the football coach that weighs 400 pounds and is yelling at everybody because they're not
Running hard enough.
Right. Right. It's like, well, you haven't ran in 40 years. So, as opposed to somebody that
Come on,
was like,
Sasquatch, get out here.
Yeah, that's right. Mm.
So I'm just trying to, I've had to kind of shift and focus and look around different places to.
Right. Do you find yourself, Mark has used this phrase, and it always just struck me. Do you find yourself dreaming cop?
Very seldom.
Very seldom.
Never have.
Never have.
That's never really been, there's a couple of things that have bugged me that will occasionally pop up, but not very often.
See, mine got worse about the second year.
After you retired?
Yeah.
I could see
retirement. The biggest thing I think what you're going through now, Chris, is like, who am I?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who am I? Where do I fit in?
Right.
What do I do with myself? And that's a big thing for a lot of cops when they stop being. And I struggled horribly with it my first year out. Mm-hmm. I was adrift. I was in the doldrums, on the equator. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be, because Jesus Christ, that's my persona. I ate, slept, and shit being a cop.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I was, call outs at 3 o'clock in the morning. Fuck yeah, man. Throw my shit on.
I'll have them all in.
Couldn't, exactly.
There we go. Gotta go, honey.
Yeah. I get a phone call from Captain
It's like cool.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Cool.
That's right.
Where are you going? Got shit to do, baby. I'll be back when I'm back.
That's right. Get paid to do this.
But then it stops. Mm-hmm. And everything stops. Mm-hmm. And not just that. Everything you were that whole time stops. So if you stop back by post or, hey guys, what's going on? They don't even let you in the door anymore.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, they got to buzz you in.
Yeah, I can't go in the back and say hi to the guys. Oh, we've had some of our retirees come in. They wouldn't even let them in the fucking room.
Yeah.
I'm like, at the time I was like, that's kind of odd. Mm-hmm. But now, being a retiree, I'm like, that's fucking shitty. Mm-hmm. But it's finding that groove, and I'm blessed that I'm still a trainer, like you are. So I still got my foot in a little bit. But I can feel a waning. I want to do training probably for another year or so. It's getting hard on me physically. It's like today I'm hurt. We had pursuit
playing
termination.
bumper cars.
Yeah, pursuit termination techniques class, and I took some fucking hits. And not as bad. I've broken 3 vertebrae.
Oh my!
Yeah. So I tell my coaches in the car, grab the fucking wheel, because if this guy isn't controlling his emotions, fuck him. You can just take another pit. You got 8 opportunities. There's no sense of me taking an ass beating. So I'm hurting today. I got to get into physical therapy and get my needles done. But no, I'm not here to bitch. But what I'm saying is that, it takes a toll. So when Chris said, "Oh yeah, I got to realize I'm 57 years old. I'm going to be 60 next year." So rolling around and doing the things that I'm doing, I'm feeling, because I need my hips replaced, and I'm refusing to get that surgery done because our good friend Mike Stengel, he had his done already, like 10 years ago, 15 years ago,
and he's probably up for another one.
He's got to get him done again. It's just like, when do you start cutting and when do you stop?
Right.
Law enforcement's tough on the body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm putting it off. I ran the other day and I was laughing. They're like, "Look at you look like a fucking turtle and a penguin." I said, "Fuck off." That's the best I got. I go run, it ain't pretty, but but you have to accept those physical limitations, and that's difficult to do.
Oh yeah.
And it's also really difficult to be, what we say, being out of the cult. And that's particularly difficult. Travis Howells, I think, said it best. You got maybe 6 months where you're still relevant. After that, who are you?
Yeah.
One thing I loved about the Kettering Division Police is that they have a wall in their police department with all the former command staff, like sergeants, lieutenants. Is it sergeants or just lieutenants and up?
I don't know, but no, it's.
But I've seen it, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like having that history there. Because one of my officers, his grandfather was a lieutenant with Kettering, and I'm really surprised he's still with TIP. I told him, I said, "You're not down with KPD yet." But anyway, I thought that was great. That history, and Ron Ray did a really good job having a lot of Tip City relics in the front lobby. And I was really kind of heartbroken when I heard that the new boss just boxed all that up and sent it home to him, because I think that. Great thing about State Patrol. State Patrol's really staunched in tradition.
Yeah, I was going to say
almost
honestly,
to a fault.
Our retirees are fairly active, and you can be very active if you want to be.
Yeah.
It's not like I have a hard time getting into a post with my retirement credential.
Right. Yeah.
And we're very institutionalized, and that's always been part of it.
Right.
Which also makes it hard to leave because, like I said, I was in prison for 34 years. I knew what I was going to wear.
Yes.
I knew where I needed to be. We all dressed the same. It's not like somebody can show up, if you were going here, this is what you wore. We had those discussions. Everybody had to look alike.
All drove the same car.
All go at the same time.
A lot of people may not know that you're a legend around the state.
I don't know about that.
Well, and I'm telling you, so you do know. I mentioned your name because I talk to a lot of cops, all right, and I talk to a lot of troopers in my position being a guest instructor. You're very well loved and respected around the state. Always get smiles. Remember we interviewed Steve Click?
Oh, yes.
Steve Click dropped his name in our interview. And he was talking about how great it was working with guys like, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah,
Steve's a good dude.
Yeah, he is a great guy. He's well loved and respected. You were talking about episodes. That's another episode. I was like, wow, that episode sucked.
If you go over to the academy right now in the Heritage Hall part in the front, him and his dad's got a huge display of their stuff.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that is.
His dad was.
Yeah, I forgot his dad was a.
Earl Click was.
See, this is why we need to be on video. You can see that
what do you want to say?
That smile. Exactly.
You seem the glow.
If you thought of like a trooper that came on in like the 1960s, yeah, that was Earl.
Is that right?
Oh God,
fantastic.
And he retired a trooper after on his birthday when he turned 55 when we had to leave 55.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yep.
So 55, that's it, or is it still that way?
It's now 60, but it was 55.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
you gotta go. I'm out. Well, but in them days, you could start it. You could have your 25 in by the time you turn 55.
That's why they made it. Well, you couldn't. You had to graduate. You couldn't be 30 before you graduated.
Right.
So you could get your
25
retirement.
Which is, we've talked about that in past episodes that, you have to start in this age. You can't be older than that because in order to get your pension, it's like, fuck that. I mean, this job ruins your head anyway. You should get a 15 and out. But anyway.
Yeah, I think there would be a lot of benefit to that.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, if you start at 35, I can tell you, I started at 32. And, God always has a plan for us. I wanted to go earlier, and we just kept getting no's, so I was tenacious at it and kept at it. But I was able to handle things better being a young adult in my 30s than the 20-year-old or the 21-year-old, going into the job. I think it makes you more empathetic. It's kind of like, I wish I'd have started earlier. I wish I did 10 years sooner, but there's a reason for everything. And I think my career worked out great.
Right.
I'm very fortunate to do what I did.
There's so much that changes when you retire. I mean, you got your body going on. You got your culture that you've been a part of, that you're no longer a part of. You're discarded by many departments, not the patrol, but I know others. One of the things that a lot of responders have talked to me about in the last 4 years of doing coaching is how their relationships with people changed after they retired.
Okay. Does that mean they still hate everybody?
I think in part, like their marriages changed. Their relationships with their adult children changed.
Well, since I'm on number 3, I guess mine's changed several times, so that I'm probably not a good person to talk to. I don't give marriage advice. I can tell you what not to do, but I can't tell you what to do.
You're going to push pause there real quick. You're going to let me be assertive like that. Please let you push pause. You've taught me some things, whether you know it or not, in some of our conversations. And, we talk, about once a week now?
Yeah.
I mean, which is great. I love spending time with Chris. But he told me the other day, he's like, okay, I need to go because I'm going to spend some time with my wife. Cool.
That's great.
And what he told me, what he taught me was that she's the priority.
Yes.
And I thought, man, that is so cool. Because how many times we just get so caught up in life and we forget to prioritize what's important.
Right.
But you taught me that. And I take a step back now and I take a big breath that when I get so caught up in what I think I need to be doing, I need to make that space. And I wish Susan was here to hear this, make that space for her and take that time for her. And I thought, man, that is so cool. So thank you for that.
But, it's took 2 divorces to get to that point, so I've spent a shit ton of money, not necessarily on therapy, but I spent a shit ton of money to figure that out.
But you figured it out.
But it's an investment now, so yes, okay, yeah. Well, you're investing in a different source.
Well, and the other thing is with her and I, like when I was getting ready to leave, I was struggling, and she's like, "What are you worried about?" I'm like, I don't have a job. She's like, "But you got money coming in." She goes, "You're going to figure it out. People will want you to do things." I was like, "No, they won't. No, they won't. What? I'm good at these things. Well, how does that translate into a civilian job?" And
you're busier now what you were when you were working.
Not really. I miss the
90 miles an hour. 90 miles an hour.
Yeah, I do. I do miss the being, because I kept myself very active within the patrol. I did a lot of stuff. I was blessed to be able to work.
You're young enough. You can, with the agency you're with now, I'm sure. If you want to go back full time and start doing that shit again, but see, now you don't want to do it.
No,
I knew when I was done, I was done.
It's different.
Yes,
even though you stepped into a different agency,
it's different.
It is different. Yeah, I'm
I'm
feeling the same thing you are with that, trying to fill that void.
Yes.
Even though you're wearing a different uniform, doing something, but it's not going to be the family that you're used to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow. That's a quotable quote.
Yeah, that's
a quotable quote. It's not the family.
And like I said,
I can write this shit down.
Working where I'm at or being a reserve where I'm at, super great people. But it's not like when you walk in, the atmosphere's like not the same.
Right. Because you didn't grow up with that family.
Right, and it's just not the same.
Different vibe.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It is.
The highway patrol is very structured,
Very corporate.
corporate, and very structured, very focused. Like, and if you're not focused, you're probably going to get weeded out. Like, we're not. That's. This agency is a lot more family, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah,
it's a great thing.
Yeah, right.
But it's
Structured different.
Yeah. I've always said, like, the patrol always says they're a family. It's like, no, you're not. It's a big business. If we're a family, then mom's a whore and dad's a terrible alcoholic, and beats the kids.
Right,
that's the kind of family. But you get used to that family dynamic.
You do. You do. And you work your way through it.
Yeah. And you
try to figure it out. Yeah.
That's what's the old saying? Sometimes it's better to dance with the devil than the one you don't.
Right.
So
Yeah. But you're going down the same path, and this is a couple years sooner than your retirement. It is. You're trying to fill that void, still trying to serve with a different family.
Yes.
But you're looking back at the other family, and then you're recognizing different, and you're trying to make that friends in that circle. But you're trying to relate back to what you know and what you have.
Right.
It's that struggle of where I'm at, and you're trying to find yourself within this next career or life. Am I doing what is? And am I trying to fulfill something that I just can't quite fulfill, that I've known for the last 25, 30 years?
Yeah.
And then, again, I'll go back to one of the things. Emily's one that probably has taught me more than anything. It's like, you're never going to have another 34-year career.
Oh, no.
Right.
Right.
Like, everything you have from this point's a job. And if you don't like it, you can bounce.
Right.
I have never
Bounce.
I still struggle with that.
Yeah.
Like that DPS job's first time I've ever bounced from a job.
And you feel bad because you want to be all invested. Because
Yes.
the way you was brought up, the way your curriculum was, the way
And that
your
was part of the
discipline.
reason I left that job, is because it's like there was never going to be any opportunity to feel like you were vested in it.
Yes.
Right.
Because you did your career. This is a job.
And I was like, this is just not. I'm not feeling it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm looking for something that whole relevancy, like where you feel important and relevant. And I know you shouldn't look outside. You should not look for outside sources for that.
Right.
I understand from like a psychological. That's just like looking for someone to make you happy. No one makes you happy. You make you happy. It's kind of that same thing. I know it. It's just.
But you grew within the family. I mean, when you started out as a cadet or a young troop, and you worked you all the way up, and then you hit to that peak up there, and then all of a sudden it's like you had that aha moment, I can retire. But it's how you got there. It's that climb. It's that experience in between those little small milestones, and being part of that family and that invested. Like you said, he was part of different task forces, and then as you moved around the state and saw different stuff and worked with different people and teams with that, is you were the state of Ohio.
Yeah.
Now you're just in a little quadrant of the state, and you're going, wait a second. What's going on over in this area and this area and this? Your mobile force you was with. You went all over. You were deployed in the state, out of state, and when the troops come in, here I am. That's what you are, and that's what you wanted to be, and work through that. And you're fortunate enough to make it through all the way through your career,
right?
To do that, but I still want to continue that, but not put up with all the bullshit in between.
The interagency politics are, and I think that's true with any agency.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The interagency politics, and I think it's even without private sector, I'm sure is the same too.
Oh yes.
It's difficult. It's like that's where at times it's like, why are we making this hard? Like, we make this shit hard.
We do. We do. We do.
And type A's make it harder.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, come on. No, I have never been considered a type A in my entire life. I went to some leadership course, and it was one of the like West Point based thing, and they had you do where you do that quadrant test, and you have like the A, B, and all that.
Yes.
Right.
Like, I made a curlicue in the top corner of the A. And one of the guys that I worked with was one of the instructors. Is like, I'm not really surprised by that because I've always known you were extreme, but now I know. It's like, well, yeah.
There's Chris in the corner again.
Like, there was no dip into anything else. It's like, oh, that's straight A. Well.
How did you know it was time to retire?
I didn't have a choice. I ran out of my drop.
Yeah.
Okay, now please help me educate.
So drop is a program that is basically allows you to save a bunch of money, because what you're doing is you're retiring early, essentially on paper, and then instead of getting paid monthly, it goes into basically like a savings account kind of thing. It's a
like an annuity.
Deferred retirement
Option plan.
Yep.
Okay.
So your monthly payment will be less because it started way back.
Right.
But the ability to put that money back, you can put back a significant amount of money that you're not going to be able to save at any other point in your life.
More guys are making more money in drop than they make in their fucking career investing.
Oh my word!
Oh yeah. Well, but you're taking your, like right now, it's your retirement check. Your percentages may be lower, is what Chris is saying. But just for round numbers, let's say you're getting $5,000 a month in your retirement.
Okay.
That $5,000 is going into the bank every month. You're still receiving your salary working as a police officer.
Gotcha.
Okay. The city is matching your funds.
Oh.
In some incidents.
Well, the way
they have a contribution, we have a contribution, all that goes into that drop account.
In your account.
And then it starts drawing interest.
and it's a win for the retirement system. So like the way the patrols was set up is, it's your retirement check going in there. Of course, they're not paying out any benefits, so they can invest that money. Mm-hmm. And then I think currently they take out like 13 or 14% for retirement on every paycheck. Well, you got 10 of that back, but 3 the retirement kept.
Okay.
So you've got your, like you said, $5,000 plus, every 2 weeks, we got paid every 2 weeks. Or so you've got another, say, $300-400 every 2 weeks going in. So now you've got almost 6 going in every month. And then the retirement system's taken that, like I said, they took 3 off the top that they weren't giving you back.
Right, as an admin
and
fee.
then they can continue to invest that money because you're not touching it.
Right.
Yeah.
And
it's bigger.
Right.
So it grows. Yeah. Most guys after 3 to 5 years, it starts ballooning.
Yeah, because that's where your interest rates, depending on what the interest is doing, really starts to matter.
Okay.
And like when I got into it, the interest rate was dog shit. It didn't make anything. The last couple of years, before I left, it was up around 4.5%. That made a
big difference.
Yeah, big difference. So, but you can only do that for 8 years.
That's the max.
And
that's just the way it's set up.
Yeah. Right. And all the retirement people that I talked to said basically the smart move was to drop as soon as you were eligible. You had your time and your age. That way you could start putting that money back, because the difference by sticking around and trying to bump up you would have
percentage.
The chance of you living long enough to make more money doing that than what you did were able to put back are pretty small.
Right.
Because it all comes down to how long you live.
Yeah.
So, and you're playing that game.
Yeah. And we all die earlier. 10 to 15 years sooner, all cops die. I mean, that's the reality of it.
So that was, as soon as you put your paperwork in, you're hitting and that was probably where I struggled. That was weird too. The only time I ever
Going to the
struggled.
pension board.
No, you're filling out all the paperwork, you mail it in, you get it notarized, they send you a letter back saying it's been accepted, it starts this date. Essentially, you've retired.
Yeah.
I struggled for like a month and a half going to work.
Yeah.
I almost said, fuck you.
Yeah.
Come get your shit.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know why. And I knew a friend of mine that was on mobile field force that was over east. He made it like 3 days.
Really?
And he called. He said he was getting shaven, getting ready for work, and he's like, "Why am I doing this?"
Because it's the countdown clock, is what I was told.
Yeah.
Because you retired, 8 years from now, you got to go.
Well, and then there's the dirty side of it that they don't tell you about, like with our agency. Because you've already retired, when it comes to discipline and that kind of stuff, they can get rid of you super easy. Yeah, they do.
You rehire.
Yeah, essentially. Then they also they're if you get waxed, there's an argument that you're not going to get your survivor benefit because you're retired.
That's been a challenge to the FOP and stuff too. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up.
So I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of little dirty secrets
you don't know about. Yeah.
That they don't tell you going into it, so to speak.
Right.
So you gotta wear that out. I've heard you say it before, and I was in a good position. I didn't want anything else per se,
right?
And you always want to make yourself good enough to be asked.
Yes. Right. Yes. Know what you mean.
So that you have control over what you want to do,
right?
And they're not going to tell you no.
Jesus.
And you have positional leadership, even though you don't have the rank to back it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not. I didn't have to ask for a lot of permission like I should have for somebody in my. Because I've been around a long time and people trusted. So it's like, hey, I'm going to do this, or I want to do this and this. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Because most of them served under you anyway.
Well, that's true too.
In the sergeant's episode, you had a major working for you at one point, correct?
Oh yeah, I've got a couple now.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
and, that's why I'm proud to have him sitting here at the table.
Absolutely.
But and I think a lot of people don't understand that too when they're trying to navigate their career. It's like the machine needs to be fed. You have to feed the machine what it wants. If you feed the machine, then you can go out and play and do cool things.
Yes.
But you got to feed the beast.
Right.
Wow.
Like you don't have to.
That's another quote.
You don't necessarily have to cow down and be like a bootlicker or anything like that. But if a friend of mine that just retired down 11 in Bob Bird. Bob's legendary.
Oh yeah, he retired.
You know Bob?
Oh,
everybody knows Bob.
Everybody knows Bob. Like
Bob.
you.
Bob is a wrecking ball. If you needed something broke, Bob's one of those guys that you should put in glass and say, in case of violence needed or bad things happening, break glass immediately. Because he's a solution. And other less ideal. Now, if you want to go send him someplace to be diplomatic and shake hands with people, that's probably not the person to send. Because you ask Bob a question, you're going to get exactly whatever crosses his mind is coming out his mouth.
No filter.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
I like people like that.
But he was another one of those guys who they hated but they loved because
he got results.
Well, and he fiercely defended his troopers and grew a lot of people.
Yeah.
But by the same time, he didn't have to be told that, hey, you need to have a talk with so-and-so.
Right.
On your
He was already having it.
Like you're going to be in a corner up against the wall and it's going to be like, you're not going to get a cry towel. It's going to be either you straighten this up or I'm going to straighten you up. We used to call that garage talks, or when I first came on, guys talked about how senior troopers would take a young guy that was effing up out to the gas pump and tune him up.
Oh yeah.
That was the highway patrols of the 60s and 70s.
Yeah. Quit fucking around or I'm going to fuck you up, dude.
Yep. Yeah.
You don't have to worry about the boss.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to get to you first.
And I think people don't take that ownership.
Right.
Because everything is just a job anymore. Like when I worked at a post, that post was mine.
Yeah.
I had a boss. Bosses come and go. I wasn't going anywhere.
Right.
That post was mine, basically, in my mind.
Right.
Well, you mentioned before how transient the posts are.
Yeah.
But for the sergeants, that's home.
Yeah.
You're going to get a new post commander, every year, every other year?
Every 3 years.
Yeah.
3 to 5.
You get a new face in there, but,
Because those are dog years. Being a post commander in the highway patrol, it's dog years.
And I think every post commander was fortunate to have you working there because you knew what the fuck they were going through.
No.
Who did you contact when you need something? It was Sarge.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
Well,
everything was going on and what happened. That was the contact.
Another quotable quote: "Sergeants run the division."
Yes,
and
it's true.
And leadership just gives a direction, but the stripes run it. I mean, you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
If it's a well-ran organization,
yeah,
yeah.
Well, looking back on it, I mean, for all of you, really, is the drop a wise move or is it self-defeating?
No,
it depends. I think it depends. If you're happy with what you're doing and you're going to continue to work, I think it's a good thing. If you're not, if you're just sticking in it for the money, like I've got a friend that's getting ready to retire that was out of my class. He was checking his blood pressure 4 times a day.
Jesus Christ.
Because of health issues and that kind of stuff. It's not a good thing if it takes 15 years off your life.
Yeah.
So do I think on paper is it a good? But I don't think you should do anything just for the money.
Yeah.
You can always figure out how to make money.
Well, it's one of the 7 deadly sins. Greed. So we'll start with Chris. We'll go with Greg. We'll end with me.
Yeah,
cool. Then we'll do a little wrap up.
Sounds good.
So we're can you believe we've hit an hour?
Wow.
No.
We're 5
That's crazy.
minutes right now.
Okay,
Chris is talking while I look at him. Jesus Christ. It wasn't what you were saying. It was like, this has flown. That's how we knew we got spun cold episodes. But anyway, on drop.
Like I said, I think it's great if you're having fun and you're going to keep working anyhow. If you're not having a good time, you're not in a good spot, it's not worth it. And I think that's your health and all that kind of stuff has to play in with it, and your family and everything. I think you have to balance all that out.
Perfect.
And then with your retirement system, with the troopers and then police and fire, they have drop programs. But where I came from was the public employees retirement system underneath the LE. Our drop program was you dropped out physically or you died while you was working. And you had to make it to a certain point of time and age to retire. So there was no additional investment as you go along.
Right.
They're looking into that type of program right now for retention of people who are working currently and they want to continue on for that investment. Again, we're going back to the greed. We're going back to the health. We're going back to what's my next steps to do.
Right.
So how is that going to feed back to the machine? Don't know, but there's always talk about having the public employees retirement system, LE, having a drop program.
But there's been a bunch of deputies going to work for municipalities. A lot of people that are in PERS come over to police and fire because the pension's better. They take all their pension money that was in that system, move it to police and fire, work at wear the blue suit for 5 to 10 years, and then retire.
Right.
Police and fire is a more solvent, or I don't know, they're about the same. But the problem is who governs the board.
Yes.
Right. In the
PERS
investments.
is ran by, and this isn't a slam, because everybody does a noble job, but their governing board is the water department, the street department, a lot of those guys. And most of them hate the fucking cops because, we make more money than they do. But you're in the same retirement system. There is some police departments that are Teamsters.
Oh.
For their union. Yeah, right.
Yeah, for the union, for their negotiations. But some, like here in Miami County, they retire and then the sheriff's hiring them back to work the courts. Now I think that's a noble attitude, but it's keeping your department stale, in my opinion.
And that would...
Because now you got young guys that want to go into that position that can't, because you got all these crusty fuckers that are sitting around, and I say that lovingly because I'm considered part of that class, is that they can't get into that courts job or that specialty job because these rehire guys are back.
Okay.
And that's the drop version of that department.
Yeah, but, he's like, oh, well, and then some of the command staff have retired, and he's retained them. They're retired, but now they're drawing a paycheck. So, well, I can't be the captain because this motherfucker here is sitting there for the next 10 years. And sometimes you get that toxicity in the top. And, I used to work with a guy, his best job was convincing the boss how great he was. Everyone else fucking hated him. But the boss loved him. That's you have to really balance that. And when you're in a leadership role, I'll give you just a second. Greg's got something to watch.
Go ahead, I'll pass.
You got to balance everything. How are you growing your agency if you're keeping the dead wood in the top?
Right.
Right. And sometimes you need to look at why am I not retaining people? Sometimes they leave because there's no opportunity for growth.
Right.
Go, Cap.
No, but you have good people that are there that have good tribal knowledge that you want to house because of their specialties. But you got to find that balance.
You got to find the balance, right?
And that's where we're all at, even after retirement. Because I wish at the beginning of everybody's career, we talk about the ending in your investments, and like you said, retire, you rehire.
Right.
What am I able to do? But when you start out in this profession, we should be coached at that beginning there's different retirement systems out there. So if you start retirement system A and you're going to go to B, there could be a penalty clause.
Right.
Because of your time in service.
If you come out of police and fire and go to PERS.
Right. Your time may not transfer because you are investing in your career, you're investing in your savings. Also, is there other investments, kind of like deferred compensation for the state of Ohio? How am I going to put money to deferred with that? And then the third thing would be is you need a life coach. You need somebody to do a mental health checkup every 6 months.
Dr. David.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
Lessonslearnedcoaching.com.
Thank you very much, Mark. You took the words right out of my mouth. But these are the things that when you're in your academies, they should be told right off the bat is saying, here's your first step. This is what you should be doing or looking into of those offerings. And then when you get close to that time of saying, I know I'm going to retire, what's the end goal? What am I looking at? What am I going to gain by sticking around, by being here, and the possibilities of not making it during that time of when I do retire and something happens to me during this drop program or anything like that, where do all my money and benefits go to?
Right.
Or does it?
Well, and I had an old hat tell me that, don't stay for the money.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. So to kind of dovetail off what Chris was saying, I said, tell me more. And he said, there's been so many cops lately that are being sued.
Oh.
Because they're old and they're grouchy. They say the wrong word when they're excited, maybe a slur. And now they're getting sued. And the city, like Chris said, divorces you, like right now. Oh, you're fired later.
Okay.
And you got to go buy your own civil liability insurance.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big buzzword right now.
Yes,
we'll talk about that in the next episode.
Okay.
We're going to end on this. Ron Hess, when I was pissed off in my department, I was ready to quit. Okay. I was going to go get another job. And we talked about Hess during the Sergeant's episode. So hello, Ron. Thanks for listening. But Ron told me, Mark, you're pissed off right now. I suggest you go home and soak your head a little bit and start thinking about this. I would love to have you in my department. Number one, you're not going to work here while I'm the chief. I said, excuse me. He said, we're friends. I said the same thing to you. He said, no. When you're a chief, I have to make decisions that you're not always going to like. And I value you as my friend more than my employee.
Right.
Now, let's start talking about dollars and cents. And he fucking laid it right out to me.
A great leader right there.
Yes, and that's why I love him so much.
Absolutely.
He laid it out, dollar for dollar. What a stupid decision that would be to leave my retirement system at my age and start all over. He said, you go into police and fire, you got to work longer. Or come out of police and fire and go to PERS, you're going to have to work longer. Here it's 65, there it's going to be 68, blah, 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 blah. He said, just chill out. There'll be other options down the road. And he helped me. I got a little chiefsitis. And he said, here's an opportunity for you to apply for this chief's job. I suggest you do it. Call so-and-so. And, it was a now Sheriff Streck, but it was Chief Deputy Streck then. He said, go talk to him. He's running that department now, and they're currently taking applications. So I went over and applied.
Yeah.
But, God always has a plan for us. So out there, remember everybody, the 4 F's.
Right. Yeah. Faith, family, friends, and favorite activities.
Yes.
And boy, you guys have provoked a lot of questions in me. I'm sitting here like,
Stay
because
tuned.
this is such there's nothing like this that I know of in mental health,
Right.
teaching. I can't think of another. I have engineers and doctors and just plain folk who are working at Walmart or whatever as my clients. None of them have this option. And so therefore the way they think about their career is completely different to me. This whole drop thing gives you, I don't know, listening to you, it's like, dude, you miss it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when you got into it, it makes sense in a lot of ways, but like, dude, you didn't want to leave last year. You'd still be doing grade A+ work if you were there doing it now.
Sure.
And so it's like, I'm thinking, was it an advantage or not for you to get into that and have to leave 8 years later? Because you'd still be, dude, you're invaluable.
But you got to go sometime.
And you can stay. You just give up all the interest. And some of the,
ours
yeah,
not.
yeah. Well, you lose the money.
Yeah, like
you,
lose the money
you forfeit all the money you put in.
Yeah,
over the 8 years.
Yeah, there's no coming back. At 8 years, you're gone.
The sergeant that I replaced was seriously thinking about staying.
Yeah.
He wasn't. He's like, you guys are just pushing me out the door. And I said, Sarge, I love you, dude. You just can't be a cop here anymore. You can go be a cop somewhere else. You just,
I can go to another agency.
You just can't do it here. But and at your age, why?
Right.
And it gets right back to the early. It's not the family you're used to.
Right.
I don't want to go over here and stay with my step family.
Right.
I'm home here. I want to stay here.
Yeah.
And had I known 8 years ago I'd be feeling this way today, I may not have done it. But with me, in my situation, and they said, did you do drop? I said, yeah, I dropped my retirement paperwork on my boss's desk and said, I'm leaving in 14 days. Half of that I'll be on vacation, and left. But there's advantages both ways. You have to decide. But like what Chris said, here's the dirty things you don't know about getting in the drop.
Exactly.
And we've had 2 officers shot and killed in line of duty. Sonny Kim and George Del Rio were both shot and killed. They were both in drop and died at the end of their careers.
Yeah.
And they had to do some work. That federal death benefit's $325,000.
Right.
You turn it in, they're like, oh, you're retired and we're not paying you.
Yeah.
It's not that they're not going to. I don't know the process, because we were talking about that after George's unfortunate end. And Greg's like, did you know this? And I'm like, no, I didn't know that. Let's talk a little more. So those are things you need to think about. We're in a volatile position. We're in a job where we get shot and killed just because of who we are. And is it worth it? Like with Chris, I think if we could spin the clock back 8 years, would you have done it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can see it in your eyes. Yeah.
Because you, at some point, you have to make a change, whether you want to or not.
And by deciding 8 years from now, I will be ready.
Well, and I didn't say that I was good at it. It was a painful change.
Right.
But I know, like with my half, she's much happier with me not doing that job.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I've never been very good at staying out of trouble when I was working.
Trouble always found you, so yes.
And she was like, what the fuck are you doing? My boss,
Yeah, there we go. All right, let's wrap this up. Wow.
I know, man.
This is amazing. So come back for the 15th.
Yes.
This is going to drop the 1st of May. So this episode will be covering us throughout Police Officer Memorial, which is Police Week, May 15th, Police Officer Memorial Day.
Very cool.
So I'm very proud to have everybody around the table for that month. So, all right, we're going to wrap it up. Donnie, key the music.
May your days and nights find you strong and safe. May you take your place as your family's face. As you do the shit that we won't do. As you embrace the risk you must go through. May you grow in strength and heal and find your heart, your soul, and your mind. You look at your life and grin. You have a home, the Sheild within.